Here are now the top stories for the hour. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed says Ethiopia's destiny and prosperity is determined by its people. And residents of Amhara states urge the West to keep its hands off Ethiopia. Hello and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching at this news hour with the news. I'm Biniam Getana. Thank you for joining us, and do stay with the rest of the news. Government Communications Service has released a statement praising the entire Ethiopians for showing solidarity and voiced loud on the sovereignty of Ethiopia. The statement declared that Ethiopians officially announced Sunday that they do not compromise with the sovereignty of their country. The voice of the people is the voice of Ethiopia. Ethiopia is a sovereign country that does not want anyone to meddle in its internal affairs. Ethiopians have reaffirmed commitment that they will stand guard against the violation of the sovereignty of the country by any foreign power. They also made their feelings clear, carrying message that remind anyone to respect the nation's sovereignty. They urged to end intervention in proxy war in the name of human rights. They confirmed that they will stand for Ethiopia in any situation. The statement said, the people have officially declared that the interest in the needs of the people of Tigray cannot be fulfilled by the TPLF. Instead, Tigrayans' interest and needs can be fulfilled with the rest of the people of Ethiopia. During the rally, Ethiopians also showed support and solidarity to the National Defense Force to maintain the territorial integrity and sovereignty of the country. And the Office of First Lady Ethiopia has inaugurated the bakery and flour mill it built in Agro Town Sunday, 23 October. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and First Lady Zinash Tayacho inaugurated the bread and flour factory in attendance of the Oromia Region President Shimelis Abdisa and other senior government officials. The factory is said to have a capacity of producing 30,000 loaves of bread and 42 tons of flour per day. The Agro Bread and Flour Factory is the first of the projects to be inaugurated among the other similar projects being built in 11 cities by the Office of First Lady. It is to be recalled that the Office of the First Lady has completed the construction of similar factory in Addis Ababa that can produce 1 million loaves of bread per day. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed praised the Office of the First Lady Ethiopia for its commitment to education and engagements to promote food security. Moving on, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed reiterates Ethiopia's peace and prosperity can be ensured with the engagement of its people. The Premier made his remark while visiting research-induced tangible achievements on the ground and surrounding areas of Bonga University. The Premier indicated it is expected of universities to prove themselves as they are there to solve problems of the community. Daniel Kassaun has compiled the full story. Take a look at it.
While the whole Ethiopians turning out to their respective streets and squares to voice their concern on pressing issues of the country, Prime Minister Dr. Abiy Ahmed, the First Lady Zinash Tayacho, and the rest of senior government officials of the country were busy in the western part of the country inaugurating a bakery and paying visit to agricultural fields. In their stopover around Bonga University, the Premier and his team have witnessed satisfying research support to tangible achievements, which they called them exemplary to the nearby Jimma University and the rest in the country.
በቦንጋ ዩኒቨርሲቲ የሚያስገርም የሙዝ ዝርያ አለ የቡና ዝርያና ችግኝ
In Bonga University, we have seen amazing coffee and banana seedling species. They rear animals, they have cows for milk and supply to residents of Bonga town. There is honey, pineapples and some other promising activities. We have learned how universities should look alike. We have seen it today. Jimma University has a lot to learn from Bonga University. The ecology-friendly and life-changing activities seen in practice are expected outcomes of a real institution.
The Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Ethiopia, Demeke Mekonnen, for his part extended his appreciation to Bonga University as it has shown how to harvest 3 times in a year and transform farmers' socio-economic lives towards achieving in human development.
ለኔ ቦንጋ ዩኒቨርሲቲን ስመለከተው ተማሪን ዩኒቨርሲቲን ምርምርን
For me, Bonga University has shown what efficient coordination of resources. It has brought together its students, researchers, the community and the leadership together to have real picture of a higher education. All the concerted efforts geared toward solving problems of the community are commendable. It is in this way that the country's universities will be able to be self-sufficient and contribute to the country's socio-economic development.
Reflecting his views, the Minister of Education, Professor Birhanu Nagga, also highlighted if other universities follow suit of Bonga University, it is eminent to ensure prosperity of Ethiopia according to its transformation plan.
ዩኒቨርሲቲዎች የመማር ማስተማር ሂደትን በጠባቡ ሳይሆን በስፋት ማየት ከጀመሩ
If universities can see their day-to-day activities in a wider perspective, like conducting problem-solving researches for their surrounding communities, there will be tremendous tangible changes in the country. We have seen the huge potential in this area, which can be transformed to support nearby communities. There is commitment and achievement here to serve as springboard for better achievements. There is hope with ample potential.
Concluding his remarks, the Prime Minister reiterated Ethiopia's peace and prosperity can be ensured with active engagement of its people in a concerted manner.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching Addis News Hour. Now moving to another news. The Ethiopian National Defense Force has continued taking control of major urban centers in the past few days. The Ethiopian National Defense Force has succeeded in avoiding combatants in urban areas while debilitating the military capabilities of the TPLF. The government of Ethiopia is working in coordination with humanitarian agencies to continue providing humanitarian aid in these areas. It has also requested operators of essential services to expedite their preparation to resume services in this area. The government is also exploring ways in which public administration and social services in this area could be begun in consultation with the local population. Meanwhile, the government of Ethiopia will be participating in the AU-convened peace talks to be held in South Africa. The government of Ethiopia views talks as an opportunity to peacefully resolve the conflict and consolidate the improvement of the situation on the ground brought about through the sacrifice of the Ethiopian National Defense Force. The delegation of Ethiopian government has left for South Africa this morning. And moving on, Ethiopians increasingly tend to think that the Western powers are primarily interested in reviving the TPLF, a devilish group that the Ethiopian parliament designated as a terrorist group in 2021. Ethiopians are rejecting foreign interventions and proxy wars. TPLF, for the majority of Ethiopians, indulging the unnecessary war with the illusion that it would restore the power it dominated for nearly 3 decades. Foreign intervention is meant to facilitate that. To shed more light on this pertinent issue, I am joined here in the studio by seasoned politician Yeshwas Asafa. A very warm welcome to Addis News Hour.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start with a very trendy point in line with the TPLF. And so let's begin. Why the undue pressure on the Ethiopia? Why the Westerns are inclined to this point, especially to the TPLF?
Thank you again. It's not unusual that Ethiopia as a government stand alone in this type of issues. It has so many contributions for the peace of the world, but we are getting back to the worst. When you see this, the current problem, the Ethiopian people shows in yesterday's and before yesterday's demonstrations that we have to protect our sovereignty. Ethiopia is a sovereign country, so we do not intervene in any nation, in any internal affairs. We don't want to also to take any interventions. So when you see these current issues, the TPLF and such disturbing groups are arisen probably before 2 years by attacking the national defense force. So we have to protect our sovereignty. This is our sovereignty to protect our nation. So any intervention is forbidden. We can mention many conventions, many international laws. So any intervention in Ethiopia also should not be tolerated.
All right, that's very interesting. Now that most of Tigrayans is falling to the defense forces, and what do you see in the post-TPLF Tigray?
I think it is very important to visit many cities and urban areas that are free from TPLF. We have to visit the people having this food, water, and other supplies, because they are in the war for the last 2 years. They are in problem. They were in problem. So we have to visit this because they are our citizens. They are our people. So we have to visit these people and we have to show sympathy for them. And the government should follow by infrastructures like water supplies, electricity, banks, hospitals, because they were in problem for many months or nearly 2 years. So we have to follow these infrastructures as soon as possible.
Interesting. We know the fact that from the onset of the war in the northern command of the northern part of Ethiopia, the TPLF has caused lots of destructions. However, the government of Ethiopia continuously shows its interest to hold a peace talk, and now we're expecting a lot of things to come in the peace talk that's going to be taking place at South Africa. So, what is expected, and what do you really expect from the TPLF? Because there has been lots of ways to facilitate such a thing.
Yeah, actually, it is. I think it is advised to expect more from the nature of the TPLF. We didn't get many things from the negotiation, I think, because they do have the history of dismissing their rivals, that they call rivals for themselves. So I didn't expect more, but I wish to save more lives, to save many destructions in the country. So if there is a true negotiation, it will be a new culture for our country, for our especially for Ethiopia. So saving one life is very important. Saving infrastructures in this poor country is very important. So I wish to succeed this negotiation, but I don't think, from the nature of the TPLF, I don't expect more as such big things.
So knowing the fact that this is typical of the TPLF, what should be the stand of the government of Ethiopia?
I think 2-3 things have to be fulfilled. The first thing is we have to protect the sovereignty of the nation. The sovereignty of the nation should not be on the table. The people who were demonstrating yesterday, their message was we have to protect our sovereignty. So the first thing must be that. And the second thing is we should not enter again in this problem for the third or the fourth round. So we have to end once and for all. And the third thing is other groups have to learn from this, that the Ethiopian people, the Ethiopian Defense Force, and the Ethiopian government is not tolerating for who are trying to make in problem that the sovereignty of the nation.
Good. Citizens Politician Yeshua Sasafa, thank you so much for coming and sharing us this pertinent point. We thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
እኔ ያለሁላት ኢትዮጵያ ትፈርስ አትፈርስም እኛ ያለንላት ኢትዮጵያ አትፈርስም ለሚያቃት ተልቃ ለማያት ብታንስ ልጆቿ ልቅ ብላይ ተነሶ የሷስ እኔ ያለሁላት ኢትዮጵያ አትፈርስም እኔ ያለሁላት ሀገር አትፈርስም እኛ ያለንላት ኢትዮጵያ አትፈርስም እኛ ያለንላት ኢትዮጵያ አትፈርስም ለሚያቃት ተልቃ ለማያት ብታንስ ልጆቿ
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, you're watching Addis News Hour. And now step into another news segment. Senior government officials said the ongoing agricultural endeavors are pillars to ensure economic sovereignty beyond food self-sufficiency. Senior government officials visited various development activities being undertaken in Jimma and Bonga. Ministers who participated in the visit expressed that coffee, wheat and fruits have a great potential to earn foreign currency. Let's take a look.
አርሶ አደሩ ከሚያመርትበት እንደዚሁም ደግሞ ምርትና ምርታማነትን በሚፈልገው ደረጃ ያልሆነበት
We have visited that various agricultural activities being carried out by farmers will bring a significant role to improve their incomes and the country's revenue at large. The coffee exports that have been increasing significantly for the past 3 or 4 years are promising to increase our foreign currency earning. Similarly, the milk product likely solves the growing demand of milk in various cities across the nation. We have seen that Bonga University is working on hybrid cows with the support of research to improve productivity.
በምርምር በተደገፈ ሁኔታ እየሰሩ መሆኑን አይተናል። ይሄም ወደ አርሶ አደሩ በሚሰራጭበት ጊዜ አርሶ አደሩ ምርታማ በመሆን በስፋት የወተት አቅርቦትን
አዳዲስ ከዚህ ቀደም የማይታወቁ የግብርና ምርቶችን በማልማት ብቻ ሳይሆን በፍጥነት
It is not only focusing to develop unknown agricultural products, but it is also important to rapidly expanding and distributing them to all farmers to be self-sufficient in the food crops at national level. In addition, we are changing centuries of wrong narratives to export wheat that we used to import. Exporting wheat is not just about taking dollars. It's about sovereignty, country's honor, and production capacity. It conveys a strong message to those who think of dismantling Ethiopia because of it.
ሃርድውን የሆነ ዶላራችንም እንድንሰው ያደረገን አንዱ የስንዴ ምርት ጥራት ነው። ስለዚህ የስንዴ
One of the reasons we had to sacrifice our hard-earned dollars was the wheat shortage. Therefore, solving the wheat production problem is a critical intervention. It is a huge initiative for our economy, our sovereignty, and the honor of the country as well. On the one hand, this fruit production ensures the health of the citizens, and is also a high-value crop that can be sold abroad and generate high income.
high-value crop ነው ፍራፍሬ ማለት ነው። እነዚህም ጋር ያየነው ሩዝም ሌላ ክሪቲካል
Welcome back once again. We are now in a trending segment that we're going to update you what happened over the past 24 hours in Naiwiz. There has been a huge rally that took place in the different parts of Ethiopia in general, in the capital Addis Ababa particularly, denouncing the foreign intervention against Ethiopia. To shed more light on this and other relevant points, I am here in the studio joined by my colleague Habtam Akshagri to tell us more. A pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much.
So tell us, last Sunday there has been a great and huge rally that is taking place in different parts of Ethiopia, particularly in Addis Ababa. A lot of people, they came from all parts of Addis Ababa and be part of that colorful event that tells lots of things for the international community, the fact that we are denouncing such interference. So do you have anything in the hand?
Yeah, I try to check a lot of the national media outlets how they are covering these stories, but especially those Ethiopians who are coming to participate in undertaking this rally or demonstration. only African News reported that is all Ethiopians are coming together and showing their solidarity to condemn the TPLF acts and related foreign interventions against the people of Ethiopia and Ethiopians. So they are highly dedicated to report, especially in the three directions. The first one is the people are denouncing TPLF, and the second one is they are opposing the foreign intervention, anti-foreign intervention of those Westerners and some European countries against the government and legitimate government of Ethiopia. And the third one is they are showing their commitment, how they are supporting the federal government once it was elected within democratic process as an legitimate government of Ethiopia. That is the ruling party Prosperity. So this is a sweet point that the African News are highly covering these stories. There are a lot of issues that are related within this rally. I think the foreign intervention is beyond the two red lines, and it touches the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the nation and also the will of Ethiopians. And again, it's the desire and the will of Ethiopians to the federal government, and the international community is somewhat different, and some international media outlets are not covering stories like Al Jazeera Africa and BBC Africa are jumping this huge rally in the northern part of, in the whole part of Africa. I think there are hidden agendas where they are always silencing such kind of voices of Ethiopians and helping those foreign countries, especially Al Jazeera and other BBC News are highly dedicated working within some Westerners and some European countries against the will of Ethiopians and the government of Ethiopia.
So the fact that this is very tremendous and significant rally, how does it impact the Westerners and what should be done in the coming years?
To reflect my personal opinion, it is a huge rally and demonstration because in such kind of movement, some superpowers are always ready to listen to such kind of voices, but they already know all problems, how they are orchestrating, politically affiliated, how they are opposing the federal government of Ethiopia, but they are always defeated and silenced such kind of voices because this is against their will and their national interest. So, but the people is always committed and showing its solidarity, how they are working within the ruling party and Prosperity, how they are committed to help Ethiopia when the difficult time is coming in this country. And they are also showing how they are too much enthusiastic about how they are failed about, they are bored about the unfair, undue foreign pressure against those Westerners and some European countries. But I think they already know the fact on the ground, how the TPLF is doing in the northern part of Ethiopia. They already know it. They are trying to backing this force into the federal power, but they are also failing and they're showing their own daydreaming to help such kind of denounced by parliament and as an terrorist group. Not only TPLF and its allies is in some parts of Oromia, that is OLF Shane. So they are already know the fact on the ground, but they are not believing that. They are deaf-eared to condemn such kind of acts, except not supporting the federal government of Ethiopia. This is against the democratically elected government within Ethiopia.
Yeah, and another thing, what should be the role of institution like AU as far as solving African problem and solving African solution by ourselves, because this is internal domestic affair that the government of Ethiopia should work on it rather than welcoming the Western powers.
They are always condemning such kind of acts, especially one point that the Ethiopian government is highly dedicated to solve these kind of problems, African problems by African solutions. This is a thought of Pan-Africanism. The Pan-African thought is coming from such kind of Ethiopia and other Western countries like Ghana and Nigeria. All huge countries in Africa believe that African problems are only solved by Africans, but some Westerners are trying to intervene in such kind of involvements to secure their national interest. That is the point why they are heading and they are hailing this government, because they already have strong bondage about how problems are solved by African umbrellas. That's one problem that they are feeling discomfort about Ethiopia. The other parties, African Union and other regional institutions are playing a significant role in solving such kind of problems. That is the thought of Pan-Africanism. Pan-Africanism is coming from Ghana, Nigeria, Ethiopia, Egypt, and so on and so on. Such kind of countries are leading countries, how African problems are solved by Africans, but then Westerners and some Europeans are not accepting such kind of issue because they try to intervene and put any direction or agenda how they are restoring their national interest against those sovereign countries in Africa.
So how do we make this point a voice for all Africa so that people can possibly understand what Ethiopians are doing is so logical and keeping every integrity and professionalism, and then the role of the diaspora in the other part of the world as well?
That is an exemplary demonstration that was undertaken yesterday and the day after yesterday in Ethiopia. The other countries are taking good lessons from Ethiopia, how they are opposing such kind of unfair foreign intervention. They always had such kind of exemplary activities made by Ethiopia. When we remember historically that is League of Nations is organized by Ethiopia, and Ethiopia is the founder of League of Nations, and now then United Nations. They know already how Ethiopia is both in the national issues and continental or regional issues. They are hearing how Ethiopians are exemplary of African countries. For example, when we see that is the movement of colonization, decolonization process was coming from Ethiopia. Ethiopia is only uncolonized nation. That's an exemplary to other African countries, how they are struggling to find their freedom and independence. Ethiopia is helping a lot of African countries, how they are struggling and liberating themselves about colonial rules. This is an exemplary rally that demonstrated Ethiopians and other African countries.
Habtamu Ashagre, thank you so much for coming to the studio and shedding more light on this pertinent issue. I really appreciate it.
The pleasure is mine.
ለሚያቃተልቃ ለማያቅብታስ ልጆቿ ልቅ ብላይ ተነሶ የሷስ እኔ ያለሁላት ኢትዮጵያ ትፈርስ እኔ ያለሁላት ሀገር አትፈርስ እኛ ያለንላት ኢትዮጵያ ትፈርስ እኛ ያለንላት ኢትዮጵያ ትፈርስ ለሚያቃተልቃ ለማያቅብታስ ልጆቿ ልቅ ብላይ
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now, moving on. Italian ambassador to Ethiopia, Augusto Palesi, noted that Ethiopia's immense potential for agricultural productivity will be instrumental in realizing economic integration of the Eastern African region. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and Ambassador Palesi, along with senior government officials, visited various development activities in Jimma zone. During the occasion, the ambassador stated that Ethiopia has various untapped potentials, pledging that his country will strengthen supporting Ethiopia to utilize the sector, especially by providing technologies.
I think Ethiopia has enormous potential in the green area and the countryside. This is why Italy is supporting with different projects, the agri-industrial project, for transferring technology and to help to develop this kind of things. That's this job creation for everybody, and it's something that could help Ethiopia to grow up from the agricultural point of view. It's very important. What also today is rice, fruits and all vegetables in a very high standard level, and especially even coffee or whatever. So it's very important that you continue on this plan, and we continue to support Ethiopia even on these matters.
He also lauded Ethiopia's success in availing affordable energy to industrial projects in a very short time, stressing the need for a country to continue on the pattern as there is a conducive foundation in this regard. According to the ambassador, Ethiopia even be exporter of rice, vegetables and food instead of importing like wheat like it was once.
I think it's very important that Ethiopia continue on this pattern, because you will have, even with all the dams that you have built, in a very short period, energy, low-cost energy, so you can develop agro-industrial project even with other partners like Italy, and you can even becoming exporters of, rice, vegetables and fruit instead of importing, for example, wheat or something like it was once. So now you can try to export as well in all the region in the nearby of Ethiopia. So it's very good for you, and I think could help in job creation in many sectors. Even, what we are working is even to transfer technology and know-how in labor market, labor creation, labor rules, for worker. That is an important aspect as well that we have to take into account.
Some, with a colonial mindset, call our part of the world a jungle. We want to remind them about Adwa. We are the lions in the jungle. Our roar has silenced a colonial ambition. The time to dehumanize Africa has been long gone. Africa has awakened. We as Africans and Ethiopians would like the world to know, to honor our choice, and we say, no more, no more, no more.
And another news, residents of the state of Amhara chanted slogans denouncing undue foreign meddling in the internal affair of the Horn of African nation. The second largest ethnic group, the Amhara, have been targeted by the TPLF during its repeated invasion into the Remeric states. Flag-waving residents in Bahar Dar, Gondar, Desse, Kombolcha, Debre Marcos, Debre Birhan, Sakota and other towns of states said foreign powers must either help Ethiopia thrive or leave it alone. Johannes Fantaun has compiled the full story, and let's take a look at it.
Thousands of residents filled the streets of major towns in the second most populous state of the nation on Sunday, denouncing what they referred to as foreign interference and pressure in the country's internal affairs. Demonstrators carried banners that read, "A threat to Ethiopia is a threat to the world," and "Respect the sovereignty of Ethiopia," as the banners had words accusing the US of disrespecting Ethiopia's sovereignty. Foreign countries need to stop meddling in the internal affairs of Ethiopia and should refrain from supporting the TPLF, the terrorist group that repeatedly threatened the survival of the people and the government of Amhara. That's according to Yilkal Kafala, chief administrator of the state, who addressed one such huge gathering in Bahar Dar town, capital of the state.
ወያኔ በኢትዮጵያ ላይ እያደረገ ያለው ጦርነት የውክልና ጦርነት ለመሆኑ
The TPLF is serving as a tool for the West's proxy war against Ethiopia. The heinous attack against the Amhara and Afar, which practically robbed the two states of two-thirds of their infrastructure, caused no uproar for the West. Rather, the West is gearing up for one last-ditch attempt to save the TPLF's skin.
በኢትዮጵያ ላይ እያደረሱት ያለውን ጫና የውክልና ጦርነት መሆኑን ማረጋገጫ ነው።
በሉዓላዊነታችን አይሰማም። በሉዓላዊነታችን አንደራደርም አንደራደርም አንደራደርም።
The sovereignty of Ethiopia must be respected. Ethiopians will continue to stand in unity to safeguard the sovereignty of their country, according to the rally goals. The demonstrations came on the back of the mounting pressure on Addis Ababa following resumption in August of the fighting in the northern Ethiopia between government forces and the TPLF rebels after a 5-month truce.
Foreign forces are clearly siding with our historical enemy. The TPLF is using scores of arm-twisting tactics to force Addis Ababa to kneel down to their demand. The US and others are rather shamelessly asking Addis Ababa to lay down arms when it is crystal clear that the TPLF must be disarmed in the interest of all Ethiopians, including our brothers Tigrayans.
Many people displayed banners urging the United States to stop supporting the terrorist TPLF, while others charged the West, particularly some members of the AU, of blatantly pressuring Addis Ababa to stop the fighting and let the TPLF survive after all these disruptions.
Welcome back. Step into a similar story. A foreign national who attended the massive demonstration at Addis Ababa on Saturday described it as an exemplary resistance to the West's repeated undue pressure in the internal affair of Ethiopia. A communication expert, Wang Ping, noted that Ethiopians have once again proved their historical legacy by refusing to yield off the foreign pressure. Shegoy Mater has compiled the following story from Ethiopian News Agency. Take a look at it.
Ethiopians at home and abroad are denouncing Westerners' interference in the country's internal affairs. On Saturday's massive protest in the capital Addis Ababa, the demonstrators condemned some Western countries, including the United States of America, to refrain from pestering the government and supporting the TPLF. Approached by Ethiopian news agency Wang Ping, a Chinese national said he was very impressed by the huge rallies that gathered to condemn foreign forces interfering in the sovereignty of their beloved nation.
A very magnificent and well organized. People are very peaceful, but people is willing to show Ethiopia people's attitude. They don't want the U.S. and the Western interviewing.
Ping, who is working as a communication expert in Ethiopia, observed that Ethiopians staged a large-scale peaceful procession to tell the Western powers to stop interfering in domestic issues and supporting the terrorist TPLF.
Based on my experience in the past 2 years, especially about the war between the government force and the TPLF, always when TPLF is facing some problem, the U.S. is always jumping out and pointing this and pointing that. Definitely is intervening to Ethiopia's domestic issue. It's not good. So I think today is a very good event for Ethiopia government and Ethiopia people show their attitude.
China emphasized the need to support the government of Ethiopia, which is seeking a peaceful alternative for the conflict in northern Ethiopia.
Definitely we should support the government. The government always showing is willing to have a negotiation, have peaceful talks. But, however, TPLF sometimes the launch the attacks without any informing.
The communication expert finally called for the proxy wars of the West to be stopped to have peaceful countries and peaceful world.
በልጆችሽ መኖርን መርጣለሁ ሳንለይሽ ፍቅርሽ በልባችን የሚኖር ማንም አይለየን አንቺ ከሞት በቀር ያያት የቅድማ ያታላቅ ቅርስ ጎራዴ ጋሻቸው ሲታወስ በቅኝ ያልተገዛሽ መሬታችን ነፃነት ነው ክብራችን ጀግንነታችን ወግና ዋሉ ያገራችን የአውደ ዓመት የሰንበት ህብረታችን የክረምት የበጋ ባለጸጋ ኢትዮጵያ ለሚቷ ሸጋ ኢትዮጵያ ለሚቷ ሸጋ ኢትዮጵያ ለሚቷ ሸጋ
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, once again. You're still with Addis News Hour. Now stepping to another news. Ethiopian ambassador to India, Tizita Mulugeta, said the Ethiopian government is always responsible to defend its sovereignty and territorial integrity. The government is also responsible for the people of Ethiopia, including those who are living in the Tigray region, she said, adding the Tigray region is also part of Ethiopia and the Ethiopian government is responsible for that region. The ambassador elaborated though they are now echoing all false propaganda accusing Ethiopian National Defense Force, but what is happening, even if you think is from a normal person point of view, when there is a legitimate government, things are safe. Moreover, she stated that the Ethiopian government always abides by international law. It is a founding member of the United Nations and is always abides by the rule and all the necessary commitments in the UN. And in our business segment, Dagmawit Moges, Ethiopia's Minister of Transport and Logistics, won the Aviators African Tower Award, which is given to the exemplary individuals and organizations in the aviation industry in the continent. Minister Dagmawit received the award in the category of Changemakers Leadership for her outstanding work and role in bringing about change in the sector and for their leadership in keeping the aviation industry safe. I am honored to receive the Changemakers Leadership Award during the 4th Aviators African Towers Award that recognize exemplary individuals and organizations in the African aviation industry each year. She tweeted after receiving the award, Hosted for the fourth time this year in Johannesburg, South Africa, the Aviator's African Tour Award is an African domestic award that recognizes those who have contributed to the development of aviation industry in Africa. And now recap of the top stories once again. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed says Ethiopia's destiny and prosperity is determined by its people. And residents of Amhara State urge the West to keep its hands off Ethiopia. You've been watching Addis News Hour with the News. I'm Biniam Getana. Thank you for joining us and have a lovely and peaceful time. Goodbye for me now.